Today I'm not going to present my PhD research, but I'm going to raise a question I have about transitional shelters. And one of the questions was why innovative designs made by architects haven't had a real impact in practice. Why the one on the left has been published and exhibited everywhere, while the one on the right is the one that is being used. So when I started doing my research about shelters after disasters, I did what any student of architecture does, which is to look at journals and websites and to see what has been done before. And I found that most cases were utopic and ideas that really were not used, but that's what architects will learn to do, or we are hoping to do, very innovative design. And I found historic cases such as Le Corbusier, big names, Buckminster Fuller, and Jean Prouvé, among others. And most of them were proposals for the First and the Second World Wars, but again, they were proposals and never being used, even if they were big names. In contrast with other cases such the concept hut, for example, or the mobile home, they were used everywhere. They were built by manufacturers, by armed forces and governments, and they were built in big numbers. Even today, the mobile home is used as a solution after a disaster. And also I found other cases built by NGOs and other institutions, and well, since the San Francisco earthquake, organized relief has been really important. And we can find successful or less successful cases done by organizations, but again, they have more impact in the field than solutions done by architects. So I wanted to make a comparison, and I made this timeline comparing for each big disaster, the First, Second World War, and to see what architects propose, NGOs, manufacturers, to see if they have different approaches. So I found that for each disaster, they had different interests and, as I said, different approaches. While architects wanted to have exposure and to be exhibited, manufacturers wanted to they were interested in sales, and NGOs and government were in relief and going back to normality. And so I wanted to see what happened in the last decade, and I searched in journals and reports, and I made this comparison about examples in the last decade, the ones that were more exhibited and more published, and I found that the ones on the right, on the upper part, in universities and architects and manufacturers, they had very complex shapes, very complex plans, but they were not used. The ones that were really used are the ones on the bottom, done by the governments and NGOs, but they were very simple. Rectangular plans, orthogonal walls. That doesn't mean that they were better, but they were more used. So I was confused why if architects and designers and engineers are trying to do something innovative with new materials, they are not being used. So I look at the cost, for example, in this case, by square meter, and most NGOs, the costs were below $110 per square meters, and also they stick to standards, to 18 square meters, and you can see here that architects and designers and universities, they were below the standards. And also I wanted to see the number of them built in relation with area and cost, and governments, they were more expensive, but they obviously built more than architects and universities that were much more expensive, but less used. But this is not about criticizing architects, because I'm an architect myself, and I really think that we can have a useful role in giving relief. That means transitional shelters or permanent solutions. It depends on the case and the needs. Here I want to bring my own experience. I come from Latin America, natural hazards everywhere, and I come from Chile. They have been presenting the earthquakes. We are also known because of earthquake, volcano eruptions, tsunamis. We are supposed to be trained to face these problems and to face that. And I studied architecture in a leading university in Chile, and this is what I've been taught. So I designed 3 art galleries, museums, and nothing about reconstruction, nothing about risk, nothing about shelters. So when the last earthquake came, how many experts in damaging buildings? Like few, and they trained everywhere to all of us to try to help to do surveys and to understand the problems. And what happened in 2010? Everyone was interested in progressive, emergency, reconstruction, shelters. Not surprisingly, that I went again to see the curriculum this year, 3 years after the earthquake, Nobody interested again. Only one project related with that. And art galleries, they came back to stay. So everyone is doing museums and nothing about the problems that we have to face. So we have been stubbornly trying to make these very shaped designs, complex forms, when the reality is less fancy. The reality is that these families need to raise their children after disasters. They need to rebuild their communities, and we are not facing these problems. But I think that what we need to do is to try to raise consciousness in the students about our role shaping the built environment, and also try to teach them to teach ourselves to do more sensible projects, because we are not answering the right questions here. We need to focus better on what is our role there. But also we have good examples. It's not, again, not only about criticizing global initiatives, international networks, research on academic groups here in Europe and the United States, academic programs, and here I have to mention the UCL, thanks for organizing this, and the DPU. Well, from my modest experience, I think that collaboration is key research between universities and GOs governments, but for me, what is more important is try to engage undergrads in these topics, because they will be the future professionals, and they are the ones who can really have a role in there. And every time that I want to engage undergrads in our research group, they see these shacks and they think, well, I don't have anything to do here. I want to do this fancy shape. So we can change that, and I think it is our role now. I will be doing my PhD in Cambridge in the next 2 years, so I'm very happy to talk to you. I hope to see you again, and I will be, well, the next image is my poster. So if you want to talk about the comparison of the shelters, I'm happy to share with you.